Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3880BN. Today's date is April 9th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Mission is Clear, Expose the System, Dismantle the Deep State Worldwide, Patriots Take Control, Justice. Did you know a popular looks maxing streamer said Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance in the 2020 election because Vance was overweight and Gavin is better looking? Then Vance showed up to a recent interview looking completely transformed. Just weeks after the comment, everyone's pointing to GLP-1 type of drug, the same type of weight loss drug that 31 million Americans are on. But here's the thing. You don't need a prescription or a needle to get those results. This is why I'm obsessed with the particular GLP-1 supplement instead of a pharmaceutical override. It uses plant-based clinical studied ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger controlling signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings without the prescriptions, needles, or the growing list of side effects making headlines. It supports my weight management while protecting my metabolism so I can keep the results for good. To kick off spring, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech, fake news, the puppet masters, they're now panicking because what's happening out in the Middle East is not what they expected. You could see all the panickins, the groypers, those people that went against Trump, they were all wrong. Remember what the mission is. It's very, very clear. We want to take back the country. And we want to undo everything the deep state has done and what they put into place. Trump is not going to be starting World War III. He's not going to start an endless war. He's not beholden to anyone except for the American people that put him into his position. He's doing the job that we elected him to do. And there are certain individuals, and I do believe it's going to get worse as time goes on because, again, this is not the only mission. Yes, the military is going to be used in other capacities. And yes, it will be across the world. And yes, in this country. And you're going to start to see a lot of people flip. You're going to see a lot of people that will turn on Trump. You'll see a lot of people start to go against him. Because once again, when you are exposing the system where these people are making a lot of money, these people are part of the corruption. These people are going to come out of the woodwork, and you're going to see them very, very clearly. Now, again, some of these people, you were on their side because they were on your side. Just like if you go back a little bit in time, and I think people will get this, going back in time, people used to look up to the people in Hollywood. Oh, look, they're telling us this. Oh, look, they're stars. Oh, look, we look up to them. And then over time, we started to realize, well, wait a minute. They're in line with the deep state players. We just didn't know it back then, but now we could see it very, very clearly. Now, other people are a little bit more slick. Other people played the game in a much better way, where they pretended to be on Trump's side, and then when it was time, they decided they were going to turn against him because they were making too much money and they don't want this to end. They don't want this system to end. That's really what that's about. Think about the D's. The D's, the deep state players, Soros and the rest, yes, they have an agenda, but they don't want the system to end. They've been enjoying this system because they've been making a lot of money from the system. So when you start to look at these people, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, listen, at one time we were like, oh yeah, this is the person, great, they're on our side. This is what we needed. And it's very hard sometimes to accept that, wait a minute, maybe they were never on our side. I mean, could this really be? And sometimes it's hard to accept. And people fight it along the way because you don't really want to accept it. No, it can't be true. No, everything they're saying, it must be right. Let me follow along for a little bit longer. And then you start to hear more and more and you start to realize, whoa, wait a minute. They're completely against Trump now. I mean, I remember going back a little bit in time when DeSantis decided to run for president against President Trump. And you had almost the same people, a lot of the people, all of a sudden flipped. They went to DeSantis and said, no, Trump is no good. DeSantis is the guy, which I find very, very interesting. And then as soon as DeSantis, wasn't going to be president, they flipped right back to Trump and like, oh yeah, I'm all for Trump. But again, Trump is in this position to do one thing and one thing only: get this country back on track. Might not be the way you like it, might not be what you want to happen right now. But again, you don't know the classified information. You don't know what he has to remove and how he has to remove it and who he has to deal with. But I do believe in the end, the mission is very, very clear. Expose the system to the people. Make the people understand. Just like the people were awakened during Biden/Obama's time. People saw the wokeism. People saw, look, they don't care about the military. Look, they're trying to change the country from the infiltration of the Muslims coming into this country because they're allowing a lot of illegals coming to this country. People saw it. It was very clear. So he's exposing the system. Do you think that's ended? Do you think we're done with it? No. The system now is still being exposed, but on a different level. We're going deeper now. And this is where you're going to see people all of a sudden come out of the woodwork that you never expected, and they're going to fight against Trump because now he's going into their system, the system that supports them. And this is where we're at right now. Why do you think he has Acting Attorney General Blanche, he has J.D. Vance, and a team exposing the system? You can call it fraud. You can call it money laundering. It's their money-making system. Now, you're going to see a lot of people that make money off this system. And if you think it's only the D's, you're fooling yourself. There's a lot more people that are involved in this. And while all this is happening, he's dismantling the system that they set up across the globe. And yes, he's going to use the military any way he sees fit. And he's going to use the laws that they put in place to establish their system. And those people that are panicking right now because he's exposing their money laundering system and he's going deeper and deeper and deeper, they're going to come out against him. Why? Because they want as many people to turn against him as possible. Whenever you go after a criminal, whenever you go after a criminal syndicate, whenever you go after foreign entities, what do? They attack. That is what you're seeing now. We've seen this before. The problem, I think, this time around is that you thought a lot of these people were with us, and you're finding out they're not. And this is where people have a tough time, and they start to fight with, do I believe it? Shouldn't I believe it? And then all of a sudden, as time goes on and they expose more and more, you're going to see who they truly are. And they're going to get angrier. They're going to get more pissed off. They're going to go completely and utterly against President Trump in ways that you can't even imagine. And then you're going to see it as clear as day. Because as he's dismantling and exposing the deep state system worldwide, they're going to get more and more panic. Fear is going to set in. And you know what happens when fear sets in? People lash out. And they're going to say that Trump is controlled by another nation. Trump is not the same man. Trump is this. Trump is that. Trump is this. Trump is that. They're going to keep doing it. Just like at the very beginning. Trump is controlled by Russia. Trump, look, he's working with other countries. He's going to manipulate the elections. It's the same pattern over and over and over. The only difference this time, it's people that you thought were on our side they were never on our side. In the background, they have always been involved in the system, and they want to keep the system alive. And the mission, again, is clear. Once we expose it, once we dismantle it, we take control. You see, Trump wants leverage. Leverage is the most important thing, because once you have leverage over China, leverage over Russia, leverage over NATO, leverage over the deep state system in this country, leverage over the politicians that are installed because they might have been involved with Epstein, they might be blackmailed. Once you have the leverage and you dismantle everything that they have, you have control. And that's part of the plan. Patriots taking control. Now, I say that Patriots are in control. When I say taking control, I'm talking about removing them from their positions and taking that control. So removing those people in the House, removing those people in the Senate, and putting the Patriots in those positions. That's the phase we're coming up to. Because again, we're going to see a lot more across the globe. And yes, eventually in this country. And Trump has let us know that, yes, we're going to be moving on to the next battle. There's going to be other battles. And yes, the same exact people, even more. You're going to see a lot more people turn. So get ready for it. They're going to go against Trump. Those people that were pro-Trump are going to turn against him. Because as he goes deeper and deeper into their system and he dismantles the system, they're going to call on other individuals. We need you now. It's gotten worse. So you need to start to turn. But think about it. The mission is to take control and have the leverage. So this way, we can bring these people to justice. That's what this is about. It's about taking back everything that they've taken from us, everything that they've done to us. And they've done a lot over a long period of time. All the terrorism, all the money laundering, all the fake false flags, COVID. I mean, just go back. The food poisoning, the wars to keep their system operational. They've done all of this to we the people. And then they turn around and they tell us that we're domestic terrorists, that we're deplorables, that we're going to hunt you down. We're going to censor you. I think this tells you everything you need to know. And I think Trump now needs as many people backing him as possible. And the message here is don't be fooled by certain people. When you see them say something, question them. When you see them all of a sudden turn, question them. And I think Dan Scavino now is letting us know that, yeah, there are some influencers that are on the take. There are some influencers out there that are doing all this because they're making a lot of money. Maybe not just on clicks and stuff, but maybe in other ways. And he's letting everyone know that, yeah, you're starting to see them now. And all assets now are deployed to try to stop Trump because he's going after the system. He's going after the deep state. That's what he's doing right now. He's hunting all of them down. That's what you see across the globe. He's the hunter. He's using the military to hunt them down. They set up Hamas. They set up Al-Qaeda. They set up ISIS. They set up the cartels. They set up the gangs. They empowered them to keep control because they knew and they learned from World War II. It's better to have terrorists because this way it's not really blamed on a nation. You can have them everywhere. Everyone will be afraid. And this is what Trump now is removing. He's removing their army. So when you see Hezbollah being attacked, when you see Hamas being attacked, when you see Al-Qaeda being attacked, ISIS being attacked, when you see the cartels being attacked, when you see the gang members being attacked, that's the deep state army. That's what he's destroying. And those people who are flipping now are trying to save the deep state army. Think about that for a second. But they're not going to win in the end. Because I do believe that the digital soldiers, once again, will step up. As the fog of war clears and people start to see who these people are for who they and what they are, I think people are going to get clear-eyed once again. Just like in the very, very beginning. Some of it was hard to believe. Actually, when you told your friends, it was hard to believe. But now, more and more people believe. And now, the same thing's happening. But I do believe we're going to see the digital soldiers step up once again and fight to take back this country. A lot of them have not wavered. Other people are caught in the middle going, what do I believe here? I know it's tough. It's hard. But again, we elected a man. We elected him to take back the country. He told us he was going to take back the country. He didn't say how long. He didn't say what methods. He didn't say it was going to be over tomorrow. he did tell us through some Q posts, you're going to love the way the movie's going to end. And I do believe, I think everyone in the end will love it. We just have to get through the fog. We just have to get through all of this. And that's what we're experiencing right now. We'll be talking a lot more about Iran and what Scavino put out. But first, let's start off with Arena, because once again, you could see the deep state players, they are now protecting the criminals. And the crazed homeless man that actually slaughtered Arena on a train, he was found incompetent to stand trial. And it's very interesting because everyone saw the video. Everyone saw him do it. Everyone saw her bleed out. Everyone saw that he got where he said, I got the white girl. I don't think there's a case here. I think it's open and closed. I mean, when it's caught on video like this, and he was competent enough to stab someone and then say, I got the white girl, I think we don't have a problem here, do we? Matt Van Swal says, if you can say out loud, I got that white girl, seconds after you stab her to death, you are competent enough to stand trial for her murder, period. The end. That's it. And I agree with that 100%. And once again, you can see the deep state players, they want to protect their criminals. And this is what they keep doing over and over and over. They release them. They put them back out into the public because you have to remember, they're criminals themselves. Criminals work with criminals. I don't care if they're wearing a suit or a pantsuit. They're criminals. And actually, those are the ones you have to be really scared of because they're the ones in the background who are the most devious because they pretend to be like you, but in the background, they're saying, and they're directing those people, the foot soldiers on the ground, the illegals and everyone else, murder that one. Get rid of that person. The instructions are coming from them. And then above those, and then there's people above them. So those are the people that you have to be most worried about. And they put on an act. They play a role to convince you of something, and they convince you who they are, but they're really not those people. They're not like us, where we have a moral compass. These people don't have a moral compass. If they did, they would be stopping everything that you see out there today. But they want it to happen. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Now, the other thing you could see is that Trump, he is now making huge progress right now on asylum grants. Eric Doherty put this out and said, in a massive victory, asylum grants for migrants has plummeted to historic lows under President Trump. The rate is now just 7%, which is lower than even Trump's first term, and way lower than Biden and Hussein Obama. And look what Trump is doing. Let's say he's deporting all the bad illegals right now. Yes, when people say, oh, he promised to mass deport, he will. Again, why would we have to chase these people down? If the deep state players are going to use all the illegals, Antifa, and everyone else in the riots, why not wait until they're in one location in the cities? Isn't that a lot easier to round them all up? Isn't it much easier to use the National Guard, the military, to go after these people? It absolutely is. So he never said he was going to have it all completed in 3, 4, 5 months. He said, I'm going to round them up. He got the worst of the worst off the streets because he knows that the deep state players are going to try to push false flags. They're going to try to do us harm once we really go after the deep state. So why don't you clear the pathway and make sure they don't have the ability to do this? Why don't you clear the pathway across the globe to make sure they can't use a dirty nuke? They can't use terrorists. They can't do anything while we go after the criminals, the real criminals. That's what he's doing right now. It's very, very clear. And again, remove the expectations. This is where I think a lot of people, and I do it myself, hey, we're all human. You got to remove expectations. You don't know what he knows. You don't know his plan. I mean, yes, we can decipher a lot. We can look at what he's doing and say, okay, I understand this. But again, remove the expectations and trust. I think that's what he's asking right now. Trust Trump. He's saying it, actually. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that hackers, and Visegrad24 put this out, have stolen 10 petabytes of data from China's largest state-run supercomputing facility. And the hackers were inside the system for months, installed missile and bomb schematics, aerospace and aviation research, and bioinformatics and infusion simulation data. Now, this is very, very interesting because whoever stole this, and I think it's the Flaming China hacker group, and it looks like they're using it for profit. But again, who are they selling this to? That's the bigger question. Or are they giving some of this information away and actually using the cover story of, hey, we want to make money from Bitcoin, or something else? Because adversaries could replicate the Chinese hypersonic missiles, precision-guided bombs, fighter jet designs, or stealth tech. They could recreate this. Could they recreate this very, very quickly then to start a war? Maybe, maybe not. The data could be sold to rogue states, non-state actors, or arm dealers, accelerating global weapons that could be spread across the globe to maybe start a war. So this is very, very interesting. And I wonder who's done this. Or maybe it's part of the CIA, the U.S., finding out what China has right now. But let's see how this plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. The other thing that's very interesting is that it looks like the FBI and partners, they've arrested a former SOCOM employee for transmitting classified information. FBI Director Kash Patel put this out and said, FBI and our partners have arrested a former SOCOM employee who supported our top-level military warfighters for allegedly transmitting classified information to a member of the media. Outstanding work by FBI Charlotte and the FBI Counterintelligence and Espionage Division, as well as our Justice Department partners. Let this serve as a message to any would-be leakers. We're working these cases and we're making arrests. The FBI will not tolerate those who seek to betray our country and put Americans into harm's way. Now, this individual was working with a journalist. The journalist was giving this person information to write a book. And classified information was transmitted. Now, was the book a cover story to transmit the classified information to hide what was really going on there? Maybe, maybe not. But the individual is Courtney Williams, 40, of Wagram, North Carolina, allegedly transmitted classified material to individuals not authorized to see it. And she was arrested and indicted by a federal grand jury on Wednesday. And the individual who actually got the information was Seth Harp, who writes for the far-left Rolling Stone. And he was writing a book, The Fort Bragg Cartel. And this was published in August of 2025. So once again, the classified information, they know is classified. It has markings. You know what it is. So once again, she knew what she was transmitting. It wasn't an accident. It's like Biden. Oh, I didn't know that information that I was hiding in my garage was classified. It's all fake, phony, and false. And anyone that submits or passes along classified information, yeah, you're going to get in trouble because you broke the law. Period. The end. I mean, if something else occurred inside of Fort Bragg, that's a different situation altogether. Just because maybe something happened to you within Fort Bragg doesn't allow you to commit a crime to endanger the nation. It doesn't work that way. And once again, you could see that if you break the law, you're going to be going to jail. Period. The end. Now, the other thing that's very, very interesting is that eligible young men will automatically be registered for U.S. military draft starting December 2026. Now, this is a little bit misleading, and the Military Times put this out because, again, it's not a draft. Starting December 2026, the Selective Service System will automatically register eligible young men, U.S. citizens, and male residents age 18 to 25 using existing federal databases like Social Security driver's license records. Men will no longer need to manually register themselves within 30 days of turning 18. This is not a new draft or conscription. There is no active draft whatsoever. Women are not included. They're exempt from this. This is just automated right now. So those kids, which they are, who are turning 18, they're automatically then put into the system. I don't know if you remember going back, years ago, you would go and you would actually sign up when you got your driver's license or when you turn 18, whenever, depending on what state you were in. But that's when you actually would do it. And you would actually sign up. Now, that is just removed. They just decided to automate the process. So once again, saying that people are going to be drafted is completely and utterly wrong. Now, we could see that Trump now has the ceasefire. He's going to have a final agreement coming up soon. He's showing the world that the new regime can control the old regime. They can allow ships through. And he's showing the world this. And this needed to be done to show the deep state players and everyone else that their old regime is no longer in power. I do believe from the very, very beginning, Trump actually controlled the strait. But again, him sending ships in is a little bit different than saying, look, I can now control what's going on in Iran, and your regime has been replaced, and the new regime now controls the entire area. I didn't have to put troops on the ground. I didn't have to have an endless war like you wanted me to have. I was able to do it without any of that. Now, people are still questioning this, but I think as time goes on, you're going to see the new regime that's in place right now work with President Trump, just like Venezuela, and you're going to see that they're going to start to make arrests in their country, and they're going to take power. And I think the first act was to open up the strait. Now, a lot of people are saying the ships aren't going through, but again, this is just the beginning. Now, we know that AI is now taking off, and you have to remember, we tell these platforms our thoughts, dreams, business ideas, financial and health information, and ask them sensitive questions. They take all this information, tie it to your identity forever, and sell it to various third parties or provide it to governments on demand. OpenAI even has the former head of the NSA sitting on the board. So what is the main problem here? Sam Altman recently announced that ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations. Do you feel comfortable knowing an AI platform has access to all your thoughts, dream sensitive financial data and healthcare questions, business ideas, etc.? What are they doing with it? Meta's Mark Zuckerberg said AI companions could help with the loneliness epidemic, but do you want a corporation monitoring your most vulnerable emotional conversations? It took us all far too long to truly understand what social media companies were doing with our data last decade. Are we really going to make that same mistake again? The stakes are infinitely higher because people share their most intimate thoughts with AI. If you used any of the leading AI apps, you have probably been censored at some point. Even for harmless questions or requests, there is a strange double standard today where anyone can go online and search any topic, no matter how taboo, and see relatively unfiltered results. And yet, if you use AI to search for even a dirty joke, you're softly scolded and directed into a more socially acceptable direction. Why should a team of programmers at these leading AI apps get to decide what is and isn't okay for you to think? Do you want censorship infused in subtle ways within how AI delivers your information? Would you be comfortable if a presidential administration could govern what AI tells you? We wanted artificial general intelligence. Instead, we got Barney and friends. So how do we combat this? Well, Venice lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. Venice utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installation of anything. Instead of needing to host these models locally, they made it easy by curating the best open source models in their UI. They don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are encrypted and your conversation history is stored only in your browser. AI can be extremely valuable, but we shouldn't need to give up our privacy to use it. If you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or the government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, venice.ai/X22 and code X22. Once again, that is venice.ai/X22 and use code X22, or just click the link in the description. But think about Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He took credit for this, and people started to basically hit him really hard, saying, you had nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing. But the other thing with England that's happening right now is, which is very, very interesting, is that since they really don't have a navy, they don't have any type of warship, Russia now is using the English Channel to deliver oil to support its war in Ukraine. And the Brits can't do anything about it, which is very, very interesting because they really don't have a navy. And the other thing that I find very interesting, and it looks like they're trying to create the narrative that Russia might do something to the cables or something in the English Channel, because UK Defense Secretary says 3 Russian submarines were in UK waters. To President Putin, I say, we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines. And you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and you'll have serious consequences. Let me give you a little translation here. We're going to allow you pass through because we really don't have a navy. We're going to warn everyone that you might do something, and then we'll push a false flag to make it seem like Russia attacked the UK. Why in the world would Russia do this? They wouldn't. Would the deep state, would the EU, would they do this? Absolutely. Just think of the Nord Stream pipeline. That should tell you everything you need to know. So it looks like they're already trying to build a narrative, which is going to be very, very interesting. And again, is this going to work? No, it's going to completely and utterly fail. Now, like we said, Trump he has a ceasefire for 2 weeks. He's going to show the world that the new regime either has power over the old regime, the people's government that's forming right now, or if they do not have the power, he'll have to remove a lot more of the old regime and teach them a lesson. Do not act up because we're dealing with the new government that's put into place. And what's very interesting is that Iran has announced alternative routes for ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, citing the risk of sea mines in the main zone of the vital waterway. So the new government is letting everyone know, do not sail that way. That's where the mines are. And they have agreed to temporarily reopen the strait, through which 1/5 of the world's oil usually passes. And this is part of the 2-week truce. So once again, they're giving instructions on how to avoid what was planted there. Now, could Trump have minesweepers go in and just sweep the mines? Absolutely. But again, he wants to show the world, the deep state players, look, I have the control right now. They're doing what I want. If they don't, and you try to sick your regime on the new government and you try to interfere with this, I will bomb them to hell. That's pretty much what he said. And now we see it is happening, which is very, very interesting. And like we said yesterday, Lebanon, Hezbollah is not part of the deal. I mean, we should just make Ukraine part of the deal, don't you think? The deal was with the United States and Iran and Israel. The other country, Lebanon, where the terrorist organization Hezbollah lives, was not included. But you could see the allies, which they're not our allies, they are supporting the terrorists. You see a lot of people in this country supporting the terrorists. And what's very interesting is that the European fake allies just executed another betrayal. So Macron and other fake allies sent a letter stating that Hezbollah, Lebanon, should be included in the ceasefire. Emmanuel Macron from France, Meloni from Italy, Merz from Germany, Starmer from United Kingdom, Carney from Canada, Dan from Romania, Fredrickson from Denmark. We have Iceland, Jedin from Netherlands, Christensen from Sweden. We have Slovakia, Greece, Spain, Norway, Finland, Japan, European Commission, European Council. They sent a letter and they're saying Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. It should be. Now, once again, Hezbollah is a terrorist group. We already know from J.D. Vance that this is not included whatsoever. Now, think about what Trump and Netanyahu did. I think they tricked Iran, and Harmless explains. Trump played a fast one on Iran, and they're just realizing it. Actually, not just Iran, but all the deep state players, the fake allies. When Iran started the escalation against the U.S.-Israel forces, Hezbollah rushed into the war and started sending missiles to Israel because they were fighting on the side of Iran. Remember, there's a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah made in late 2024. Hezbollah violated the ceasefire agreement and attacked Israel with a barrage of missiles. Netanyahu mobilized the troops to southern Lebanon, the stronghold of the Hezbollah, and started engaging them seriously. He even deployed an Israeli Special Forces unit known as the Irgaz, Unit for the Capture of Hezbollah Commanders. After bombing them to his satisfaction, Netanyahu continued to deploy his troops to southern Lebanon in a strategic move to dislodge Hezbollah fighters from the area that borders Israel. Iran pushed a ceasefire agreement to end the escalations in the Middle East, thinking that such a ceasefire would stop Netanyahu's occupation of southern Lebanon and at least save the remaining Hezbollah fighters from Netanyahu's wrath. Netanyahu kept quiet and watched the U.S. and Israel agree on the ceasefire. Immediately, the ceasefire was approved. Netanyahu changed the direction of his missile launchers from Tehran to southern Lebanon and began eliminating Hezbollah fighters. Hezbollah and Lebanon asked why they were bombing. They thought there was a ceasefire. And we had Netanyahu, we had J.D. Vance, we had Trump say, no. It has nothing to do with Lebanon. The terrorists there are going to be wiped out. The ceasefire is between the U.S. and Iran, and not between Israel and Lebanon. Iran got infuriated and raised alarm over Israel violation of the ceasefire, and the U.S. just confirmed to Iran that truly the ceasefire agreement does not include Lebanon and Israel escalation. That should tell you everything you need to know. So the rest of the terrorist organization is being removed. And basically, Iran got caught in this, and you can see by the fake allies, they're troubled by this. Holy crap. The terrorists are going to be all removed. Remember, the terrorist system that they set up, that's made up of cartels, it's made up of gang members, it's made up of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Hezbollah, Hamas. This was the deep state army across the globe to inflict terrorism on the world. This way, you couldn't really pinpoint it to any country. You can't really sanction them, can you? I mean, you can in a certain way, but not really. And basically, they use the idea that terrorism is everywhere. Now Trump is shutting it all down. And what's very interesting, and Amit Shandilia put this out and says, Israel signed a peace with Egypt in 1979. Not a single Israeli bomb on Egypt since then. Israel signed peace with Jordan in 1994. Not a single Israeli bomb on Jordan since then. Israeli signed peace with UAE in 2020. Not a single Israeli bomb on UAE since then. Israel signed peace with Bahrain in 2020. No bombs. Morocco in 2020. No bombs. Sudan in 2020. No bombs. So once again, who has control? Trump has control. He has control over everything. Unusual Whales put this out and said, it's coming from J.D. Vance. If Iran wants the negotiations to fall apart over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them, that's their choice. We think that would be dumb, but it's their choice. Letting them know, listen, there's nothing you can do about it. Your terrorist army is going to be destroyed. Period. The end. And once again, what does Lebanon have to do with Iran? Except those are the Iranian terrorists. That's it. So, no, Lebanon is not included whatsoever. And Trump, he's continually calling out the fake news for what they have done, where they basically produced a fake 10-point plan, ceasefire agreement. He says, the failing New York Times and fake news CNN each reported a totally fake 10-point plan on the Iran negotiations, which was meant to discredit the people involved in the peace process. All 10 points were a made-up hoax. Evil losers. Make America great again. And once again, you could see that these people have committed a crime against this country. It's a treasonous crime. And I do believe in the end, Trump's going to be investigating and he's going to be using this against them. I wouldn't be surprised if certain people are put on trial for what has happened here, because we can never allow this to happen ever again. And I don't think Trump's going to allow it to happen again. And he sent out a warning to Iran, to the deep state players, and let everyone know in which direction we're headed. He says all U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such time as the real agreement is reached and is fully complied with. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely. Then the shooting starts, bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. It was agreed a long time ago, and despite all of the fake rhetoric to the contrary, no nuclear weapons, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe. In the meantime, our great military is loading up and resting, looking forward, actually, to its next conquest. America is back. Clandestine says, Trump parked the U.S. military on Iran's porch, deleted their military, eliminated Khamenei and hundreds of the regime's leadership, all within a few days without putting boots on the ground. And then Trump squeezed them until they submitted. Anyone saying we lost is insane. Anyone saying that Trump capitulated to Iran's demand is spreading Iranian deep state propaganda. Iran is going to do whatever Trump says, and if not, Trump will go back to surgically dismantle their infrastructure, decimate their economy, and eliminate leadership until they surrender. Trump is going to get everything he wants because he holds all the cards. Anyone saying anything otherwise will continue to be wrong. Absolutely. And I just love the fake news and all these other people out there saying, oh, Iran won the war. Really? Let's see, their navy's gone. Their leadership is destroyed. The parliament is gone. The new government is now allowing ships in. Let's see, what did the U.S. lose? Cities? No. Wait, did we lose any of our leaders? No. Do we lose any of our ships? No. Think about it. Who won this mission? It was not Iran. Because, let's say, who's dictating Iran what to do? Trump is. That means the conqueror is telling the losers what to do. America Debunk put this out and said, on day one, the ceasefire, we saw Iran test the parameters of the ceasefire. They play dumb and act as if the Israel-Lebanon conflict was a break in the ceasefire, so they kept the strait closed. Vance didn't want to torch the progress they made so far, and public chalked it up as a simple misunderstanding. This context is important. Trump begins, all U.S. ships, aircraft, military personnel will remain in place until such time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. Trump is framing America as the calm, lawful enforcer who is already positioned, already superior, already substantially degraded enemy. He's reminding Iran they aren't in a position of negotiating power. He's reminding the deep state players. He's reminding the fake allies. You're done. Calm authority. Notice the shift in tone from the Easter Post and public comments before the ceasefire. Trump is moving this thing right along. He's being dominant, but not in a way that will escalate the conflict or stall talks. But he still makes sure to make a threat. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely, then the shooting starts bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. The contrast is deliberate. Shooting starts. Makes it sound routine. And the threat reads differently this way. It's there, but doesn't carry the weight as being bombed to the Stone Age. Trump knows the media and Democrats will make a lot of noise with this post, so he neutralizes their main criticism point by stating no nuclear weapons will be used, despite all the fake rhetoric to the contrary. No nuclear weapons, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe. Trump is dictating the terms while giving Iran a crystal clear off-ramp and safety plan. Just make sure the Strait of Hormuz is open and you live. He closes by planting the seed in your mind that American military is far from finished. They're not scrambling or exhausted. They're loading up and resting, already looking forward to the next conquest. It's brilliant psychological prep work. He normalizes the idea of continuing military action, so when it happens again, it doesn't feel shocking or escalatory. It feels inevitable, routine even. Perhaps he is prepping the public for Cuba. Conquest suggests it will be a new country. In the meantime, our great military is loading up and resting, looking forward, actually, to its next conquest. America's back. Trump is letting everyone know that we might not just have one mission. We might have many different missions. And yes, Cuba could be one of them. We might see something with Mexico. We might see something with Ukraine or maybe even North Korea. We'll have to see. But he's letting everyone know that they are now primed to move forward. And you can expect the military to be used to set things straight. What is he doing? He's going around the world and he's dismantling the deep state system. Everything that they put into place is being removed. Their terrorist organization across the globe is being shut down. That's what you're witnessing right now. And what's very interesting is Trump now is building the case to remove the United States from NATO. Pragmatic put this out and said, POTUS is considering punishing NATO members who were unhelpful in the Iran war. The proposal would remove U.S. troops from NATO member countries deemed unhelpful and station them in countries that were more supportive of the U.S. military campaign. So think about that. Remember, they were depending on the U.S. to get involved with the Russia war. So when you really think about it, Trump had many different agendas associated with Greenland, with Iran, and he is now using all of this against them. Think about Greenland, for example, when they said, hey, it's good enough that you have a base there. So if anything should happen, you have a base and you could use it. Well, let me ask you a simple question. We had bases in Spain. We had a base in UK. We had a base in France. We have bases all over the place. Did they allow us to use it? I think they just proved Trump's point. They're full of crap. KT McFarland says, NATO insists U.S. doesn't need to own Greenland. Having bases there is good enough for national security, but NATO countries just refused us access to our bases to refuel. They won't even let our planes overfly their airspace. They just prove the point why we do need to own Greenland. He just trapped them in all of this. Unbelievable. And think about it. If the United States pulls out of NATO, it's much worse than anyone could ever imagine. What happens with the $838 billion defense spending that NATO receives? The U.S. provides all strategic airlift for NATO. Europe cannot move its armies long distance. The U.S. runs in the intelligence sharing networks. The NATO command structure depends on the U.S. 10 to 20 American nuclear bombers are stored at Buchel Air Base in Germany. Naval Station Rota in Spain houses the only Aegis missile defense destroyer in Europe. Ramstein Air Base is the headquarters for the U.S. Air Force across Europe and Africa. That's interesting. So what happens if all of a sudden the funding dries up? What happens if Trump moves everything out of this area? Basically, they're on their own. I mean, this is starting to look like it's one gigantic divorce. And Trump, I think he's serious. He says this on Truth. NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland? That big, poorly run piece of ice? President DJT. Absolutely. And you could see that everything is changing. And all those people that said, oh, Trump is in line with Russia. Well, it was the opposite. It was Hillary Clinton. It was Obama and everyone else. Because actually, if you look at what Trump has done, he has been fighting Russia every single step of the way. Falk TG10K says, attack Venezuela? Well, Venezuela is a Russia ally. Attack Iran? That's a Russian ally. Is threatening Cuba? Russian ally. Sanction importers of Russian oil? Stop Russian oil tankers? All has to do with Russia. So is Trump on Russia's side? Never was, never will be. You know what side he's on? He's on the side of the people. He's on the side of America. He was put into this position to do one thing. Take back this country. Destroy the deep state players. Remove it all. Go back to his original speech that got him elected. He told you what he was going to do. He didn't give you a time frame. He didn't say in what order, but he said, this is what we have to do. We have to basically remove the military industrial complex. We have to expose their entire system. We have to dismantle their system worldwide. We have to shut it all down. And then we have to have accountability. And that's exactly what he's doing, step by step. And think about it. He set everything up during his first term. Remember when he said, I rebuilt the military? Well, he was planning for what we're seeing today because he knew he was going to have to use the military to take out the deep state players around the world. So he needed newer, more advanced weaponry. He needed Space Force. So think about what he did during his first term. He prepared for the fight. You see, his second term, which was Biden/Obama, that was exposing their agenda to wake the population up so they'd be on his side. Because you can't have a counterinsurgency. You can't do these things unless the people say, I'm with you. As long as he has over 50%, he's good to go. And he has way over 50%. And now he can take out the deep state players worldwide. Without having that second term with Biden/Obama in there, I don't know if the people would be fully with him. So he prepared the first term, prepared the military, put the executive orders in place, monitored everything they were doing, caught them rigging the election, caught them overthrowing the United States government, overthrowing the duly elected president, collected the evidence, monitored them across the world. Who were they dealing with? What foreign countries? What terrorist organizations were they working with? What cartels were they working with? How the system was run? What NGOs? Where was the money coming from? Oh, the 14 computers in the Treasury Department. Through USAID. He was tracking it all. And again, you don't attack the enemy unless you have the leverage. Does he have the military leverage now? Does he have weapons they don't know about? Absolutely. And the military is with him every step of the way. And you could see the deep state players, how panicked they were, because you had Kelly and Slotkin coming out saying, don't obey his orders. You had influencers coming out, don't obey his orders. They were trying to stop the military. But we know from the very, very beginning, that was the one organization that they really didn't infiltrate. And once Trump took over, the military was on his side. Now, with him rescuing the pilots, never leaving anyone behind, they're screwed. He just proved to every single military officer, everyone that's in the military, that he's got your back no matter what happens. No matter where you are in the world, he's got you. Can the deep state fight against this? Not at all. They're screwed big time. Everything they tried to do has just failed. Everything the influencers, all the people that are turning on Trump right now, it's all failing right in front of their freaking eyes. And there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. And you're going to see that it's going to get worse for them. Yes, they're going to bring out more people to try to combat this, because you have to remember how it works. Remember, the more people repeat a story, the more people that you see online saying the same exact things, you think it's true. Go back a little bit in time. You had all these morons saying Trump entered the Walter Reed Hospital. All the morons saying, oh, he's in the hospital, he's dying. In the meantime, where was Trump? He was in the White House. He was planning a rescue operation. Remember going further back in time when they said Trump was on the golf course and he was in Afghanistan visiting the soldiers. You see, what they do is they try to make you believe that these stories are real by repeating it over and over. Multiple people repeating it over and over and over. This is what they have been doing for a very, very long time. And you can see how it's all fake. And think about it. What have they been trying to push in this country? Communism, socialism. And they've been pushing this over and over and over. And they started with states like California, Seattle, Oregon, and many others. And when you look at Seattle, look what they just did. Seattle Public Schools shuts down gifted and talented program for being oversaturated with white and Asian students. So Peter Sayong says the fastest way to impose social equality is cripple hardworking kids. So yes, and I used this example before to explain socialism. You have hardworking children in the schools. They're earning their A's. You have the other children that are doing nothing. They're getting D's and F's. And the school says, listen, all those people that are working hard, you're going to have to give up part of your grade. So we're going to have to lower you to a C plus because you're going to give part of your grade to the other students because they're not as smart as you. And this way we can even out the playing field. That's socialism right there. That's what they're trying to do, isn't it? Absolutely. And think about all the illegals that have been brought into this country, especially the Islamists, the Muslims. They don't want to assimilate into our country. Well, that's why the deep state players brought them in here, because they know that they will never assimilate in this country. That's the whole purpose of it. And Shadi Hamid put this out and said, I'm tired of proving I belong to America. Minorities don't need to show they're like everyone else. Cynical Publius says, so let me get this straight. Since 1776, every immigrant community has assimilated to American cultural norms, but that doesn't apply to Muslims? Does not seem moral, correct, or American to me. In fact, pretty much every immigrant community historically has sought to assimilate as soon as possible. That is a big part of what has made America great, the melting pot. Does this guy have the slightest clue how offensive this is to Americans? Remember, the American melting pot didn't succeed by letting every group keep parallel societies and conflicting loyalties. It worked because Italians, Irish, Germans, Poles, Jews, Asians, and others chose to become America first. They learned the language, and in many cases, the parents wouldn't allow anything other than English from the children. These immigrants embraced the culture and upheld the Constitution over old world customs or supremacist ideologies. They went all in. But the Muslims are saying, no, you have to bend to us. You have to bend to what we believe. We're not going to assimilate into America. Then again, would we ever let these people in our country if they're not going to abide by the Constitution? If they're not going to learn the American way? No, we would not. This is why Biden/Obama had to bring in the illegals the way they did, because they would have been never let in this country, period, the end, that's it. And this is why they're trying to push the stupid Dignity Act, which is absolutely ridiculous. Basically, it's just allowing amnesty to every single person. And every day that passes now and people are reading it, they find out more and more information about it. Bricksuit put this out and said, the Dignity Amnesty Act will create up to 3 processing centers in Central and South America that will be used to pre-screen foreign nationals for family reunification. In other words, our tax dollars will fund and expedite chain migration. So think about who's supporting this. A lot of Republicans, which means they're rhinos. Salazar, of course, Michael Lawler, David Valadao, Dan Newhouse, Mike Kelly, Brian Fitzpatrick, Gabe Evans, Marlon Stutzman, Don Bacon, Young Kim, Mario Diaz-Balart, James Baird, Lloyd Schmucker, Kimberly King Hines, James C. Moylan, Monica Dela Cruz, Nick Lalota, Neil P. Dunn, Jennifer Giggins, Zachary Nunn. So these people just want to let illegals in. I guess we need to get rid of a lot of these people then. Starting to seem that way. We got a lot of rhinos in Congress. Stephen Miller says, it took centuries of toil and sacrifice to reach the apex of human civilization that is America. The crux of the Democrat agenda is to resettle the masses of the world on our shores and redistribute the wealth and resources our civilization has produced until nothing is left. And that is absolutely true. Unbelievable. But think about why the D's are so panicked right now. Because the stats show Trump's immigration policies are doing very real and long-term damage to the political power of blue cities and states. Since Trump has shut down the border and stopped the flow of new people into the blue cities and states, they're not able to maintain their population levels as people flee to better places like Texas and Florida. With smaller populations, these cities and states are going to lose significant electoral power in the present, but even more so in the future. Because you have to remember, as they were pushing their policies that were driving people out of their states, they had to replace them or actually maybe even add more. Now that Trump shut off the spigot and people are leaving, they're in trouble right now. And this is why they're so panicked. Zachary Domini put this out and says, one key political ramification of collapsing international net migration, fewer people moving to blue states and cities. With 2030 reapportionment already expected to cost Democrats House seats and electoral votes, this pattern could deepen those losses. Absolutely. And it's going to be a complete and utter disaster for them. So this is why they're panicking so much. And what's very interesting is that nearly 6 in 10 Americans support limiting birthright citizenship to children of U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. So most Americans are supporting limiting birthright citizenship to children of citizens or legal residents. A new Rasmussen Report poll has revealed a striking shift in public opinion across the United States. 59% of Americans now support restricting automatic U.S. citizenship to children whose parents are either American citizens or legal permanent residents. So that is very, very interesting. And it seems like everything now is shifting. Now, the other thing, like we discussed in the very, very beginning, is that Dan Scavino came out and he said something very interesting on X. And he says, there are many dedicated people in government who could leave tomorrow and earn tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month as so-called influencers on social media. But they chose to serve the American people instead. All while the so-called influencers talk shit all day long and get paid big money for clicks and impressions. We see you. Now, we have to remember, Scavino, he owns the internet. So he knows what's going on here. Hodler says, if you have been paid to influence, you aren't as sneaky as you think. Pointing to post 1295. I think we were told that this was going to happen. Patriots make sacrifices. Some, the ultimate sacrifice. Patriots are selfless. Do they ask for monthly payments to remain patriots? Think logically. To some, it's only about the money. This is not a game. True freedom. So once again, you could see what's happening here. And you could see that more and more people, they are now coming out of the woodwork and they're showing you who they truly are. And basically, and I think Brian Cates probably sums it up. He says, what's really going to blow your mind is when Tucker, Candace, MTG, Alex Jones, Emerald Robinson, Megyn are all saying the exact same shit on the same day at the same time as Barack Obama, Hillary, Chuck Schumer, and Jasmine Crockett. That's when some of you are going to figure out the joke. They're paid by the same people. And it looks like, and the way he explains it, is that, yeah, they had Hollywood. Hollywood used to be the stars. Hollywood used to be the people that you follow. Now, it seems that they had to create other people because no one was following Hollywood anymore. No one was listening to those people. So they had to find the influencers, and somehow, some way, they must have paid them, turned them, or maybe they were always sleepers. I don't know. Don't know any of these people. But again, you could see that something is definitely happening. And it's sad because in the very beginning, they were all for the movement. They were all for, hey, let's take back this country. But I guess they don't really want to take back the country, which means most likely they're involved in the system and they like the system. Now, once again, we could see that they might be getting money from shell companies. So this way, nobody can find out where they're actually getting the money from. Again, the money could be funneled in because think about how the deep state players does it. But again, I think Scavino is coming out letting us know that, yes, something like this is definitely happening. And if we go back a little bit in time to one of the posts, we were told about this with Alex Jones at the time, letting us know that, yes, these people are going to flip. And it looks like Alex Jones flipped again. And we could see how this is happening. Now, once again, we see that this is continually happening over and over and over. And it looks like what's happening right now, and Torch put this out, is that D's, and he's pointing to a post, and this post number is 4325, May 26, and it says D's in coordination with DNF, domestic and foreign assets, have launched, as known, a full-scale insurgency attack against the people of the United States in an effort to regain power by any means necessary. All assets deployed, war. And yes, why would they deploy the assets? Why would they be doing this? Because the midterms are coming up and they know it. And they have to turn people away from Trump. And that's pretty much what they're doing. Then Scavino says in caps, influencers. And then he had three emojis next to it. One laughing, one hysterically laughing, and it looks like a skull and crossbones. And it seems that he's not making a death threat. I think he's warning these people that you'll be found out. We will expose you if this continues. And think about it. They're trying to make people panic. I think that's what this is all about. They're trying to get people to doubt what Trump is doing because he's dismantling the deep state system. And the White House put this out and says, when you hear a panicking, and it has Trump with his pointer finger up to his lips saying, no panicking. And then we have Trump War Room. Trump pointing his finger at the people. Trust Trump, no panicking. And then Scavino put out Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, singing "The end is near, I'll do it my way," letting everyone know that the end is near, but Trump is going to be doing it his way, no one else's way. And Trump is in the driver's seat. He's taking out the deep state players. And I do believe in the end, everyone is going to love how this movie ends because everyone is going to get what they wanted. But in the meantime, you're going to see the deep state players. They're going to try to stop Trump with everything that they have. And yes, you're going to see people come out of the woodwork. You're going to see people turn on him. And it's going to make you question things. But keep the mission in focus. We're taking back the country. Trump is doing this for the people. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.